is up, everybody? Welcome to the 8th episode of the Panthers Nation Network, and we are all sorts of dressed up this week. We got some beautiful merch, some amazing merch from our head, from the Panthers Nation Instagram account. So thank you, Ian, for that. And Shontis, show what we got on the back of the shirt if you can.
You know what, man? Hold on.
Tyler might need to if you need to do it. So you're showing us much more. Yeah, there we go. See? And now the newest member of the 1,000-yard receiving season club, Robbie Anderson, is the Pink Panther.
Yes, sir.
What's that bear doing? What that bear up there doing? Well, that bear is helping you get 1,000 yards in the season. Loved seeing that yesterday for him and DJ Moore. Talk a little bit about, how good this duo has become.
Fam, I mean, you think about it, this is the first time we've had 1,000-yard, 2,000-yard receivers since 1999, Patrick Jeffers and Mushin Muhammad. So it's been a long time coming. Think about some of the best receivers we've had, and still not even able to have that happen more than once. Look, Robbie Anderson's been a great pickup. One of the guys that I want us to sign during the offseason, and we so happen to do it. And he's turned into a great pick. I mean, $20 million deal. He's been worth every single penny. DJ Moore has seemed to take that next step and trying to become a superstar at the position. And I just think that group is moving in the right direction as far as being one of the best in the league for years to come.
Now, Tyler, talk a little bit because I don't think it's an issue this year because of the way we have the contract. But I feel like Robbie's one of those guys where, it's why he wanted to leave the Jets. He's not complacent with just getting by. He wants to win and wants to ball out. Do you think these games are starting to take these the way these games are ending? You think it's taking a toll on him a little bit?
Yeah, it was huge for Robbie to get him into a fast start early on in the season. We got him going quick. So, it started to seem like he was really loving Carolina, loving the team, loving everything they had going. But yeah, like as you said, it's been slowing down recently. So yeah, you need to get him the ball. We know how receivers are, and Robbie's no different. You got to get him the ball, or else it's going to go south. So, I think he'll be fine for now. You just next two games, make sure we get him the ball, and then going into next year, we know what he can do now. So now he needs to be a focal point, even more so, of our offense.
And the fact that, just to have a receiver duo like this is so amazing. It reminds me of, some of the things we used to have. And I don't want to put obviously you had your Steve Smith, Mushin Muhammad, but even one of the more underrated duos, like when in 2015, when even he had nothing to work with, he was still making Philly Brown and Ted Ginn Jr. work for there a little while. He was even making that duo work. But it's just nice to see. When you have such a pass-heavy league, and the Panthers have always kind of put an emphasis on the running game, and so it was nice to see this year they kind of take that turnaround. DJ having back-to-back 1,000-yard years. We've been talking about him needing to take that second step. Receivers are it's generally assumed and generally known that after their third season is when they start to hit. That's when they get their stride. And so DJ Moore, we were looking for it. And we've been talking about it for a while. I think TJ still needs to get that, that killer instinct in him. I think he's got. There's certain plays like that one. It was later in the game, and it was just it was like a corners route for DJ, and he took it and went 20 extra yards to break through. The yards after receiving for the Panthers, that's been amazing for us this year.
Yeah, that's been our biggest asset, man. We got a lot of guys that are dynamic after the catch, helps out the quarterback a lot. That doesn't like to push the ball down the field, allows him to still, pretty much just do very little and still get a lot more out of what is being out of what the receivers are doing. So those guys are, credit to them. We have look, DJ Moore. I know we talk about his mentality, but he's come a long way. I think he'll never be that guy that just has he won't speak his presence out loud. He won't really say too much. But again, when you watch him play, he has that dog in him, and he's only scratching the surface. He's still got another level he can get to.
Oh, definitely. I think the one thing people aren't talking about enough with DJ Moore, especially, if you remember his rookie season, after the Redskins game and those two back-to-back games, people were literally ready to ship him off to another team. They did not want him on the team anymore. And because we knew he had that Steve Smith-like quality, that kick returner quality, where he was going to run until someone brought him down. He was not going to run for the sideline or fall down easily. He ran his legs like a running back. He literally would just never stop moving. That would then cause problems in the open field. He's looking forward, not paying attention to the ball. But this year, we've seen nothing from him in terms of turnovers. That's a huge thing for him in terms of his development.
Yeah, exactly. Like Shontis was saying, after the catch, and when in a league where the talent's so close, to find ways to win elsewhere, and when you can win after the catch like that, that's huge. And it doesn't matter when you cough up the ball, right? You can make as many guys miss as you want, but if you fumble it, it's just not worth it. It doesn't make a difference. So, ball security is the number one thing. And I'm glad to see DJ year in and year out. We see him developing and getting better in different areas. So you love to see that from the former first round pick.
And that's you talk about ball security, and just as a team in general, when we were losing these close games, it was easy to put it on, the forced turnovers or the missed opportunities. And and in the weeks that passed up until, the horrible play that we'll talk about here in a little bit, the turnovers were decreasing a little bit, but we were still losing these games. How upsetting is that to where, you're not, it's not that you're turning the ball over, you're just not getting it in the end zone,
That one's, it all falls on execution at the end of the day. We talk about, there's taking care of the ball is one thing, but then again, when you get into these spots, can you execute? And one thing we saw a lack of is execution, especially in the red zone. I mean, I can think of one play in particular last night. Robbie Anderson on an out route in front in the front on the front left pylon. Teddy was late on the throw. The throw is there. If you get him as soon as he gets out of his break, the throw is there. You got a touchdown, but you can't be lackadaisical or tentative when you're in the red zone trying to throw the football. You have to be forceful. You have to be decisive, and that's the one thing we've lacked. I mean, even if we don't turn the ball over, it seems as if our quarterback is playing a little bit nervous and scared to make a mistake instead of just playing just to play.
And I was going to say, even Tyler, do you think we overestimated a little bit when we first got Teddy about his ability as, kind of pocket passer and his kind of football mindset to see what's developing? Do you think we overestimated that a little bit? Because there's been the sacks he's taken, some of the throws that he's either late on or early on. I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, Teddy's a careful player. He still is. That's his game. He's been like that since from out of college. That's how the Saints used him last year. They were on a roll on that win streak, but Teddy's not a guy that's going to create on his own, push the ball down the field, and do much more out of structure, really. That's just not his game, which is fine, but you just have to know how to win with that, and you have to keep the offense on schedule and on time because he's not going to get you out of any real tough situations. And, it's kind of gone south for Teddy. I think he's kind of, early in the year he was on a roll, but we've had some tough weeks lately. So, I think he's straining too much, trying to do too much at times because of how our season's going. So I think he needs to go back to his roots, and we need to get back to Teddy's roots and just to get the most out of him.
No, definitely. I think I agree with that as well. I mean, he was, and like we've said before, and I'm going to say it again, the line is not helping him at any point because we're seeing these plays, especially last night. He has the same thing. He's got 3-4 seconds to get the ball off. So I understand that definitely does not help him in terms of either being late to some of these throws. Well, actually, it doesn't help. I mean, he shouldn't be late to some of these throws if he's only having 3 seconds to throw the ball. He should be on time for these throws. But and he's trying to learn not to eat the sack as much, but then he did it to where it hurt us last night. I mean, it wasn't really a huge thing anyway, but where he, that intentional grounding penalty, because he was trying not to eat the sack, and then he just didn't even make the right decision anyway. So I'm just hoping people are a little bit off the Teddy train as these weeks go off, because I know it's tough to root against him, but he's showing us week in and week out that this isn't the future for us.
Yeah, I'm just ready to see. I want to see PJ Walker for the next 2 games because there's literally nothing to play for. There's nothing to gain from Teddy playing these next couple of games. I'm telling you right now, if you win these next couple of games, I will be highly upset. At this point, go falling on the tank. I mean, look, we're 4-10. There's no point of I don't see any point of winning one of these last 2 games or both of them if it's only going to ruin our draft position. And again, we still don't believe in the guy that's at the helm right now. And look, Teddy's got, like I said, the offensive line is not. Okay, I'll put this. That offensive line isn't as bad as, let's say, Houston's offensive line or Cincinnati's offensive line. Not great, and they're horrible in situational football because on that final drive, it seems like every time you can always guarantee a holding call or a misassignment, and we end up losing 10 yards. But yeah, I'm just okay. I'm just cool off of Teddy. There's nothing else I need to see. I don't think things will change next year. I mean, could they build a better rapport? Yes, but I just don't think it'll help. I think you're talking about a guy you're talking about a marginal quarterback that, like Tyler said, can't make up the difference of things that you lack. He only can do what he can do, and nothing more. I mean, when you have a guy that gets on 3rd and 16 and refuses to throw the ball down the field, there's nothing I can do with this. I mean, if he's tradition, like if he's gonna habitually always go short and never try to make a play when it's called for, then I can't win with that. I can't win with a guy that just seems too scared to want to play.
Now, I will say there were some instances. He still obviously he still was Teddy checked down for the majority of the game, but at least there were instances where it was 3rd and 10, 3rd and 14, and he was actually throwing the ball down past the marker, and he more often than not was completing those passes. I was satisfied with that. I liked at least seeing that he's learning. But so here's what we talked about, how for this defense, especially as the year was going on, we talked about how there was a lot of guys in this defense that had never played a full season of NFL football before, and that's going to take its toll. We forget about Teddy. He hasn't played a full season of NFL football as a starting quarterback in years. Is that something that we need to add in as a factor for him, or should he know what he's getting himself into by now?
Yeah, it's the first year here, first of all, and then Joe Brady. I mean, we've talked about him a lot on this podcast. So, things are just different this year. Also with the COVID, as we know, it's just a little different. So it's not as a new team, Teddy's bounced around, so he's been in plenty of different systems, and all these coaches that have had him have, for the most part, have played to his strengths, right? And I think we are too, for the most part. So like I said earlier, if he just needs to get into his own and play his game and just not force it too much. Next year we should expect more, and we better, because he didn't play good enough this year. Especially if we get more help in the off season. But a second year coming around will be better for him. But what Shontis was saying, I think is right. I think these next two games we got to roll with PJ Walker because one, draft position, and two, hey, maybe PJ looks good and we can get an asset for him, right? Maybe we can get an asset that makes up for that third round pick we spent on Will Grier. So I mean, anything we can compensate for PJ, but why not? Why not? And just tell Teddy we still got Teddy for next year, but roll PJ out for the last two games.
A lot of fans are clamoring for that. I've seen it a lot over Twitter and a lot over different Panthers websites where they're clamoring for PJ, and I'm okay with that. I hate that it's the second year in a row that we're just okay with chitting away these last two games. I hate that so much. I hate that I want it to happen, and I hate that I'm okay with it happening. But that's what really needs to happen. And so I will say for Teddy too, not that I'm trying to defend him, because I for the longest time was on his good, trying to defend him, but after I can't anymore. I can't do it. So, but I will say, and Jeff would say it if he were here, so I'm speaking as Jeff, basically, he will tell you right away how hard it is for a team to be successful when you keep changing the consistency of the coaching staff, of who you have at the helm, of who you have in the front office, and who you have starting at quarterback. He'll tell you that was the Titans' problem for the last 4 years, and he also is a huge Mariota defender, so I won't put it, but that was his defense for Mariota. Mariota's had 4 different offensive coordinators and 3 different head coaches in that many years, and that is tough to do. I remember back when it wasn't like I was getting any playing time, but I remember back in high school, we had 3 different starting coaches. We had 3 different head coaches in 4 years, and it's tough to be successful when you have that, because you're switching the systems year in and year out. It's tough to get that consistency. So I will say that. Now, when it comes to the line, I want to talk to y'all about this because I'm interested. Obviously, this week, Greg Little, he went on IR, but I want to know how much, because you talked about it, Shontis, it's not the worst O-line we've had in a while. The thing is, it's the most consistent line we've had for the most part, other than injuries. Like, we haven't been switching, rotating positions, switching people in and out. It's been, for the most part, the same 5 guys throughout the year. And that was something Cam never had. We had, there was one year we had, I think, 20 different offensive lineups throughout the season or something like that. But does Greg Little's absence this week, did that have an impact? Do we think that's, a reason? Because, it looked a little bit worse for Ware this week.
I'm not going to lie. I can't. It's hard for me to sit there and say Greg Little has little to any impact on this team. Last year he looked promising. I had hope for him last year because young guy, second round pick. We knew he was a developmental guy, and he had his moments last year where he shined. This year, between him and Dylan Staley, I haven't seen much growth. Like, neither one has really shown much of any growth. And we could probably blame that on the pandemic and guys not having that practice time, that one-on-one time with the coaching staffs. But Teddy was sacked 3 times. Three times. That's not horrible. I can't. I'm not gonna say that was. I'm not gonna say it was horrible. It's just not great. It's hard for me to say Greg Little has an impact on the game because I haven't seen him have much of a positive impact since he started in this league.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it helps, especially like you were saying, and how we're talking about with Teddy, that continuity on the offensive line. No matter how bad or how good your offensive line is, the more time they play together, the better they're going to be just, figuring things out on their own, adjusting problems and stuff. So, we don't have a lot of talent on the offensive line, but yeah, one thing we have is we don't have a bunch of different lineups this whole year. We've pretty much kept it consistent. So that's helped for sure. But the impact of Greg Little, of course he's a starter and stuff, so it hurts. But I think we dealt with it fine, and we managed it in a way that didn't kill us.
Because obviously the sacks were down, but I mean that's why I'm so glad as a statistics person, that they ended up putting pressures and dropbacks on the stat sheet as well, because there were a lot more pressures and dropbacks for Teddy than he's had to have especially than we expected, really, because the Green Bay front seven is kind of the whole Green Bay defense as a whole is kind of deceptive. They don't have the names and the guys that you would think that were going to light you up, but then they play. I mean, they can play different week in and week out. We saw, how they played against, the Bucks one week or against, another team the next week. They could be a wishy-washy team. What I got to say, I mean, either Phil Snow is listening to us or he's just trying. I mean, he's been doing a fantastic job. The rush defense we knew was going to be bad. We knew that was going to happen. But in terms of, because remember, what was the one thing we said he wasn't doing? He wasn't making the adjustments.
It wasn't making adjustments. Yep.
And look at the difference between the first and second half. I mean, they let up 13 yards in the third quarter, and then I think at least less than 100 in the fourth, as opposed to what we let up in the first half. I mean, that was amazing.
When I said a few weeks ago against the Lions that this defense was starting to come of age and they were starting to look better as a unit, they followed it up by good performances, even if they didn't finish them off. Like, look, the Vikings performance, for example, they started that game out great. They didn't finish it off well, but you had your flashes. And I mean, now against Denver, that one looked shaky. But they've proven time and time again they will put you in position to have a chance, and that's all you really can ask for, man. I keep saying that this defense is a side of the ball I'm patient with, because there was actually a reason for me to be patient. There was 7 rookies drafted for our defense. We knew this defense was a developmental project, and they've had their highs and their lows. They've had their mishaps, but ultimately they've shown growth. Jeremy Chin is really hitting it. He's playing his best football right now. Derek Brown looked like the guy that we drafted out of Auburn. He started looking like the guy that I was like, okay, that's the guy I see on film, just throwing around offensive linemen, running down quarterbacks and running backs. That was the type of guy I saw last night. And our secondary, again, I keep saying it, our secondary, while not the most talented group, we can hide them depending on some of the things we do. And they did a good job last night keeping Devontae Adams in check, which was to my surprise. So I was a pleasant surprise. And again, putting the pressure on Aaron Rodgers, that's the only way you can beat quarterbacks like that. We talked about it every week when we play veteran quarterbacks. At least I've said it. You have to be in those guys' faces, because that's the only way you're going to disrupt their timing. The Aaron Rodgers is too good to allow him to get 3 or 4 seconds in the pocket and just sling it around the field. They did what they had to do, perform well, gave yourself a chance. Only gave up 3 points in that second half. Man, I got kudos to that defense.
I'll say, Tyler, talk about you were talking about Devontae Adams and the fact that we were able to contain him to what we were. I mean, that's a feat in itself. That's almost a win in itself for this defense.
Yeah, as a defense, it was great. It's been great to see them progress week by week and get better. It was at this point in the season where we really shut down their passing game, and a top 3 receiver in the league, we really shut them down. The con to that is we got ran all over. We had didn't have numbers in the box. We weren't playing tough. We're worried about the pass, which is good. We took away the pass, but then, Aaron Jones with slasher running back on the zone runs, and he's going to just, gash us. That's something we got to work on. But like Shontis was saying, Derek Brown, he's been, just how we thought. Rookie, there's no need to freak out right away. He was having a slow start, wasn't getting, a crazy amount of the snap counts, but, he's really coming to his own every week. I see Derek Brown gets better. He gets better every week, and that's what you want from your first-round pick, and the future's promising there. I think he's going to be a guy that we talk about for 10, 15 more years as a Panther. So, you'll love to see that. Obviously, Jeremy Chin having a great game again. But, defensively, you look at the stat sheet and if Rasul Douglas is leading the team in tackles, it probably wasn't a great day. And we probably got ran all over.
Yeah. Which I was confused about, because I would have thought about Jeremy Chin. I mean, he was making tackles at the first level, the second level, the third level. He was flying around. Now I want to ask, Dante, he played the whole game. He seemed, what do we think? I think he was I don't think he was the main reason why Devontae had limited production, but I think he was definitely a factor, because I think he was finally playing for one of the few times this season at full force. So I want to know what, Shonti's is our resident, he's our DB kind of critiquer, both him and Tyler, but I know Shontis has a special connection to some of these DBs.
Well, look, Tyler probably know more about this one than me, just because of people still have to work, and I'm trying to get these games in on the clock. but from what I saw, they just same thing that happened with DeAndre Hopkins, and I was surprised that they played this well against DeAndre Hopkins the last few times. They seem to be able to know how to keep these guys contained, stay in front of them. Look, you don't allow anything over the top. And again, I'll give credit to the pressure is what helps you keep those guys out of the way. Because one thing about receivers, that's a reliant position. No matter how good they are reliant upon the offensive line doing their job and the quarterback making the correct read to get them open. It doesn't matter what last night didn't matter what Devontae Adams did, because the one thing that we did well was our front four. I mean, even without blitzing, our front four did their job. And you know what? F.A. Obata had a great night in the interior. F.A. Obata has surprised me, honestly, because I didn't know, because up until this point, he great story, great guy. I just didn't see the production this year. He's starting to match the production with the story, and now he's turned into a force on the inside. He's a great. He's showing he's got great interior pass rushing skills. Helped us out immensely, and again, it's helping take this defense to another level.
And that I don't know if it's an issue or if it's a good thing, because when you have guys like F.A. balling out and you've seen the limited production from Butera when he's healthy, it makes me wonder, okay, why did we draft Butera and why did we sign Stephen Weatherly? Unless competition begets production, and F.A. knew that his spot was on the line, so now he knows he's got to play out more. But now you've seen that kind of wasted money, not wasted money, but you know what I'm talking about. I mean, because now.
Yeah.
When was the last time we said Stephen Weatherly's name? And Deter, and I'm not going to put on Deter because he was injured most of the year, on and off the reserve list. So I'm not going to put that on him. He had good production out the gate, and I think he's got room to grow. But I mean, like some of these, it was funny. The draft picks that we're making are doing better than any of our free agency signings on the defense have done at all season.
Yeah, our free agent signings have been awful. Aside from Robbie Anderson, that's the only free agent signing that was worth the money.
And I guess Mike Davis technically wasn't this year; it was last year. But he didn't. It was weird. We had him and never used him, and I forgot we even had him on the team before the season started. I thought we'd cut him. But no, I mean, you talk about I think you're going to start to see. I think the Derek Brown Brian Burns combo is. I mean, last night there was the one play. It spoke to the whole relationship. I think it's going to be the tipping point of that relationship, and now it's going to be a great duo. Was the sack on Aaron Rodgers. Derek Brown was creating pressure and chaos up the middle. And Aaron Rodgers is not an immobile quarterback. He's not an immobile quarterback by any means. He can move. He can move. It's very underrated. But so Burns was able to get out there, catch him, and shoot his webs to make sure he would get Aaron Rodgers down. So I'm loving that duo, and I'm loving the two of them together. It makes me I was watching last night, and I was confident. Not that I don't want KK back, but I was like, okay, we can be fine if we don't have KK. It'd be much better if we do.
You know what? Speaking of KK, bro, I think the clock is up on KK.
Yeah,
I don't think the franchise is gonna want to bring him back. I love KK personally, but it's gonna start costing too much money. And if they let go of Cam, after he was banged up, they're definitely gonna let you go, Kawhi Short.
Yeah, and it sucks because it was kind of he just hadn't had any real production since about 2016. He had a bit of an upswing 2017, and then last year happened, and then so injuries are always horrible, because the worst part of injuries is you never know. You never know how good they could have been. You never know how much they could have progressed because they're sidelined with injuries, and it's so annoying. But I will say, like I said, this the Derek Brown, Brian Burns. I love seeing it, and so it's funny now, and I know because Shontis was one of the angriest about it. What the fans are thinking of that we took Derek Brown instead of taking Isaiah Simmons, because we're seeing how that's paid off in the NFL right now. We seem to get our own, and so we crap on Hurney a lot, but I mean Hurney made a great decision there in getting Chin later in the draft and picking up Brown where we needed it.
The one thing I can always say about Marty Hurney. Hate him rounds 2 through 7, awful. But first round usually doesn't miss. He has not missed on the first round from what I can remember. The only time he ever missed on a pick that was technically our first pick was Jimmy Clausen. He missed on Jimmy Clausen, but we didn't have a first round pick that year. So yeah.
Tyler's holding back everything in his body right now.
There's a hit.
I said, we've never even told that story. I want to take a sidebar real quick. When we first started this podcast, we asked everyone why they were Panthers fans. And Tyler goes, "Oh, I was because of Jimmy Clausen." And we all just sat there and we were like, "What? What do you mean?" I don't think we've ever told that story before. I mean, hey, we said we responded with, Jimmy Clausen basically got us Cam. So you know what? We love Jimmy for it.
Shout out Jimmy.
Yeah, that's why I liked him. We knew him all. We knew it all along.
We knew it all along. So then just looking more into this game, and we can't not talk about the goal line play with Teddy. And I'm going to go with this again. We said it last week with the fourth down play. That play should have, in my mind, should have never been called. You have Mike Davis. You've got these guys that can make things work in the slot. The defense, the DBs are backed up into a corner. They don't have a lot of room to work with. You run a trip, you run a double slant on the left and one on the right. You cross them up. Someone's going to get open. Someone has to, or you run a little, like we had. I mean, if we had McCaffrey, we know what that call is going to be. It's either going to be a pitch out to him or a little wheel route from the shotgun. That's what it should have been. That's what it could have been. So I know for me, I didn't like it. I don't know about y'all. I don't know what y'all's thoughts on the play call itself was.
You know what, Tyler? I'm going to let you go first on this one.
Yeah, I like the play call. I'm all for it. QB sneak is a highly successful play. It works out as a high percentage play. So the call into the huddle, that was fine. That part was fine. I don't think we should have executed as we did, obviously. You need some better, like we talked about ball security in the open field with DJ Moore and stuff like that. Also need it in the red zone, also need it on plays like QB sneaks. You got to take care of it. Teddy reached out a little bit too early. We didn't get the push that we needed. So it failed horrifically. But I think the play call is fine, and I'm not going to be upset about it.
Okay. Now, I'm going to take a little bit different approach. But they do understand the quarterback we have, right? They do understand the type of quarterback this is. There's one guy that probably was really great at doing this in particular. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's one guy that's probably like automatic from this point on the field. I mean, look, who in the hell double clutches a dive over the end zone? Damn, what?
It wasn't even close. Like, I don't even.
Look, I'm not gonna not. I want to not the play call, but then again, like Tyler said, it is a high percentage play. But you do understand who you have at quarterback, and this ain't really the guy. This ain't the most athletically gifted guy I've ever seen grace the football field, and it looks awkward anytime he runs. I get scared for Teddy anytime he takes off running. I would not lie. It really does scare me. I really rather him just honestly take a set sometimes because it looks painful watching him run. But yeah, that was pretty bad.
So I'm gonna be more neutral with that. First, I'm gonna cover the one point you said. Teddy's run more this year than he ever has in his career. I don't know. Are the receivers just not getting open, or is it Teddy going in his mind? He's made some issues. There's some plays that have not been what the coaches have wanted, not been what the team has wanted, that he's done by himself. So it's
gotta be both. I think
we talked about it with the Vikings, where remember we were talking about that they were locking down our receivers. We were talking about it there. So I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think our receivers don't seem to respond well. I'm not gonna lie. They don't seem to respond well to Teddy. Like I just haven't seen when scramble drill happens. I've seen some of the worst receiver play in the league. And when the scramble drill happens in Carolina, I mean, nobody seems to work themselves back. Nobody seems to be working themselves open. It just seems like, oh God.
Other than Rodney Smith on this last week, he had a great block to get Teddy that touchdown. But I know there was one play where Robbie was literally just, standing there. Like, I don't know what he would. I don't know nothing against Robbie. He's a bit of a tinier guy. I don't know how good his receiving blocking is anyway. But he was just looking at Teddy. I'm like, yo, like, do something. Teddy's running downfield. I get that. And so I'll say this, and I said it with the screens, and I've said it again. Brady needs to understand. He knows what he has talent-wise. He needs to understand what he has on the line. I think that play call is okay if you have a line that can help you execute it. There's two types of QB sneaks that can be really efficient. You see it in Tom Brady. Tom Brady, he just kind of falls into the line. He gets hidden and kind of just squeezes himself in there. You don't know where he's gone. Then you have guys like Shontis, like Cam, who almost they're trying to throw the ball in the end zone. Because don't get me wrong, Cam would fumble the ball in the end zone so many times. But he'd have already crossed the plane because all he's got to do is stick his arm out there. And you're right, Teddy's not that guy. Teddy instinctively should not have put his hand out literally that early. I don't know what he was thinking. He was just holding it on a platter for him.
You just tell that he hasn't done this often. Like it's not something he does.
So we did not have the line to get them because Tyler talked about it. We didn't get the push, and we've seen it. I don't know what we've done this before on 4th and 1. It was like back with the McCaffrey play. We don't have the push to go up the middle. We do not have that kind of push. When they know when the defense knows they can't give up a yard, they will do everything they can to not give up that yard. We do not. Paratus in the middle is not going to be able to help you propel forward, and the guys we have at guards are not going to be able to help propel you forward to get that in. Teddy, what he should have done, what he could have done is just try to fall into the line like Brady would do, or or like I guess maybe like Phil Rivers would do or something. I'm trying to give another one. Like they would just kind of fall and like kind of sink into the line. He didn't think to do that. You might have had a different outcome. But in my mind, I don't know why more often than not we don't do like with especially with a guy like Rodney Smith. You put Davis in at fullback, Rodney Smith in at tailback. You do a fake to Tolbert, or excuse me, not Tolbert. Fake to Mike Davis up the middle, or arm up the middle, and you pitch it out wide to Rodney. You've seen those plays time and time again. They will, because they know that's going to come up the middle. Everyone thinks that's where it's going. So you pitch it out to the side, and Rodney has the speed to break it out there and try to just walk in.
You know, only thing I'll say is that if it's 4th and goal out to 1, and you can't get a yard, I'm not necessarily of the mindset that you have to do all of these things to get 1 yard in football. I won't lie. The max I do is go full house backfield. Meaning I throw Alex Armour and Ian Thomas back there. We just run it right up the gut. I mean, it's just we have a virgin QB sneaker at a position. We have our offensive line that doesn't get a push consistently. I would say this. I mean, your best bet is go Mike Davis. I don't know. I mean, if it works, it works. But I'm just looking at who we have at quarterback. I'm not asking him to do that. I won't lie.
That's what I'm saying. I think when you have a line like you have to get a little bit creative with it. That was always my biggest thing with Brady. I was like, okay, Brady, because if you look at LSU and the team he had, it was the same kind of thing. They had great weapons. Offensive line was not subpar. It was just average at best. But he got creative with what he had. He knew it. So that's what I was most excited about is, okay, he understands what line we have. He's going to do creative things because that's what Norv Turner did back, in 2017. He realized about how bad of a line we had and knew you have to create a lot of distance on the field. You have to get this defense spread out. So, I mean, it's not like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But, I mean, just think about the momentum that game. You could have gone 14-10 at the half instead of 21-3 at half.
Yeah, I mean, do I think they would have won? Absolutely not. It's Carolina. But,
I mean, look at what the second half was. I mean, they gave up 3 points in the second half, and they put up they weren't even scoring touchdowns. They were still just at least kicking field goals.
I haven't seen us play a complete game where we didn't blow it at some point.
No.
That's my only thing. I'm like, I know at some point it's like it's gonna break in. Like Minnesota, I wouldn't have guessed we would have lost to Minnesota the way we did. Like, no. I mean, you go up 11.
You can't guess that.
Yeah, you really can't guess. You can't guess that you'll block up that you'll recover a muff punt and inside the 10, and you can't move the ball a yard.
No,
it's just certain things you can't really account for.
It's weird. The team in itself, in certain aspects, have started. It's like they kind of play to the talent they're playing against. You see the Chiefs and the Packers. The defense played up to the talent it was playing against. And the offense, it was like, but it's like if the defense is playing to the talent, it's playing. The offense is not. Or if the offense is playing up to the talent, it's playing against the defense is not. It's really weird. They're like a chameleon team. They go back and forth and they mismatch every week. So like with the Chiefs and the Packers. I mean, the defense, we expected these games to be blowouts, and the defense played up to where we're going. Like the DBs, if they're playing when they're playing Hopkins or when they're playing Devontae Adams, the DBs are playing well. But then all they have on one team, and then the next week all they have is freaking. Not playing bad against Jerry Jeudy, not playing bad against Justin Jefferson, but these other guys that you've never heard of before that they're playing to that level of. And it's just really weird to see. And same with the quarterbacks too. When we're playing these rushing QBs, we're blitzing, but it hurts us because then if you don't get to the quarterback, they create that pressure, they create that distance. The wide receivers are creating separations from our crappy DBs and getting the ball out. But then when we play these locked in pocket passers, we're not sending any pressure, but they're picking us apart in these little zone games. It's just so. It can be so aggravating. And Caroline Frazier, who used to be the Panthers social media reporter, and she went to South Carolina. All that. So she was now with the Colts again. And she had said it. I still follow her on Instagram, and she was talking. She was like, "I've been following the Panthers. I haven't watched the game in a while. We haven't been on prime time in a while." And she was like, "How do y'all do this every week? They play so poorly, but they play so well. Like they seem like they should be good, and then they just crap it out." And I got to tell you, I don't know how we do it every week.
Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, that's the kind of situation we're in. A bunch of close losses. It's tough to swallow. And with the whole new regime coming in, you kind of expected this, right? The chips weren't going to fall in our favor when it came down to it, when it was close like that. And we put a lot of it on ourselves. It's just I had no faith that we were going to win last night, even in the second half when we started making it close. That was brutal to watch, even though the scoreboard suggest otherwise. It was a close game, but that was tough to watch. It's just going to have to get better with time. As a coaching staff gets more experience in the NFL, as we grow as a team, our defense gets more experience. It's going to get better. But this season, for me at least, it was brutal to watch. Week in and week out, not a lot of actions, and then when you keep it close and lose by a couple points, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I guess my biggest thing is that this is why I was so against all of the new changes, because I remember how tough it is to win in this league, and learning how to win in this league is a tough process, and we're having to go through that again, and it's hard to watch. You realize you're watching a team that is growing on one side of the ball, they're growing, and the other side, you start thinking maybe we made the wrong decisions in certain areas. Maybe we're not going to see the growth because maybe we kept the wrong guys, maybe we picked up the wrong guys, and it's I kind of feel empty. I ain't gonna lie. I even as we're recording right now, I just don't know how to feel. I know I feel good about certain pieces. I feel good about Burns, Brown, Chin. I feel good about our receivers. I feel good. I have faith in the other young guys that we have on the roster. But then again, I look at who's running the show, and not that I don't have faith in Matt Rule, because he's done a good job of having this team ready to compete each and every week. But then I start looking at the front office. I start looking at Hurney. Then I start looking at his balls. I start looking at David Tepper. I start saying, I haven't seen good decisions consistently from you guys to make me believe this thing's going to turn around. And if it turns around, how will this team be built? I mean, did we go about building this team the right way? I just find myself questioning a lot of the decisions we've made the last 2 to 3 years.
No, I definitely understand that. So what I want to know is, because I've been kind of the same way, it's almost like I'm not going into any of these games expecting to win. And I'm not going into any of these games going, I'm not disappointed when we lose, really. I'm kind of just like, it's almost like I'm numb. So what I want to know is this more, it's kind of like back in 2013 or 2012, whenever we had that I think it was 2012 actually, where we had all those games where we lost by, one possession or less, like we did, this year. Then I was a lot more upset because I was a bit younger, so I didn't, I wasn't as drained of Panther football as I was. I knew what we could accomplish and what we weren't doing. So, are y'all more upset or kind of pessimistic for the future now than you were then, or were you more kind of optimistic back then and are more kind of weary now as to what the season could be or the future could be for the Panthers?
I'll say more optimistic back then, because it was a rookie head coach, a rookie quarterback, young. Everybody's young. We were young in the key spots. We were young at the two positions that it takes a lot of growth to be able to be good at. Now, I guess now is we're asking a former college coach to be able to coach at this level, which is still a tough ask. No matter how the trend is going with who people like to hire, that's still a tough ask of anybody to do. And asking a 28-year-old that's only played one full season in his career to all of a sudden be the franchise guy, and I'm more pessimistic about this team now, because I just don't know what we're doing at the key spots. I like Matt Rule, but your quarterback isn't going to take you much further than where we're at right now, unless everything is perfect around him. And the one thing we know about this game is that it's not going to be perfect. You have to have a quarterback that can make up the difference between the talent that you have that you lack at other positions. So, I'm definitely a little bit more pessimistic nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me, I'm more pessimistic now. Was more optimistic at the time. I feel like in 2012, it was a similar season with a lot of close losses. We had a much more clear direction then. Right now, after this offseason, things aren't adding up with our offseason. We built a good culture, I think. That was a good thing with our offseason, the players we brought in, first of all. But the different signings, different moves we make didn't really all add up. And that all starts with the Teddy move. We have veteran players, rookie players, and it's just not all meshing well right now. And it kind of, even though it looks like we are going to be picking high in the draft, it's kind of still going to be in that, mid-range tier of a team. Like if we would have won a couple more games this year by, a few chips fall the right way, we would be picking middle of the draft. And we'll see how these last 2 weeks go. But, we don't have a young franchise quarterback like we did in 2012. Rivera and Rule kind of the same, both still learning. So I'm fine with Rule. That's good. But yeah, it's much more optimistic then. And kind of like Jack said, I was younger, more not worn out of Panthers football yet. I haven't seen some of the years, but yeah, something that going into this offseason, we need to establish a direction and where we're going with this team next.
So this week is an interesting matchup coming up. And playing on a hot streak Washington football team. We all know how Rivera does later in the year. I mean, they've won 4 games in a row, and they're only down a touchdown. Now, Haskins did just throw a pick, but they're only down by 6 points.
Haskins is playing?
I guess everyone else is injured. Haskins is in this week. I don't know if everyone else got injured in between, but he seemed to have been playing the entire game of the short game. And they're in the second half right now, but they're only down. They haven't let up a touchdown to Seattle yet. They're only down by 6, and they've won their last 4 games in pretty surprising fashion. Obviously with the Steelers. The Cowboys they blew out the Cowboys. The 49ers wasn't that surprising, and the Bengals wasn't that surprising. So it's a bit, it's a bit more deceptive. But they looked at some of these games against like the Lions or the Giants that they've lost. It's been by 3 points. Giants by 1 point. Their biggest loss was probably the Rams and the Ravens, and those were, some pretty good teams to lose to for the most part. But this is really interesting to see. It'll be the first time playing Rivera since all this has gone down. And, we saw Thomas Davis last year, and we saw how that game went last year. It's in Washington. And we've always had, this out of division rivalry with the Redskins. And it's always been these, for a while.
The football team, correction.
Oh, did I say the Reds? Oh, I'm sorry. See, now this is a new team. Maybe we won't have as big of a rivalry with the football team. That's still hard to do that. But I want to know, my outlook, honestly, for this week is not positive, no matter who we put at quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm so tapped out. I'm drained. I'm exhausted. But I don't know how to feel about this game. If we lose, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be disappointed because I think we're more talented. But if we lose, I also won't be surprised because that's a well-coached team over there. Ron Rivera one thing Ron Rivera is gonna do. He's gonna have a team that plays disciplined football. He has his team playing at its maximum level right now. They're definitely the best team. They're playing the best football out of any team in the NFC East. So, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of would rather see Rivera and those guys win. Honestly, just because I'm happy for what he's accomplished this year. Because I think for a lot of people that may have thought he was done or tapped out as a coach, I think he's proven that I can coach in this league. And done it under very, very different circumstances in his case. So I'm just proud of what he's done. And obviously I never root for us to lose, but I'm just kind of like, I don't care. I'm not gonna lie. I just don't care as much this week.
Yeah, earlier in the season, if we thought we were a tough football team, we should look at Washington, right? This is a tough football team. Ron Rivera, one of the toughest guys, and he's leading that team, and they all kind of take over that mold of, his character. And you see that on the field, especially with the defense. He's always going to have good defenses. And when you have, Ryan Kerrigan, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jerron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Matt Ioannidis along the defensive line, you're going to be a tough defense, and they're going to eat us up. The Kendall Fuller playing good at corner. Our offensive line is going to struggle. We're going to struggle to run the ball, and Teddy's going to have to get rid of that quick because they have one of the best pass rushers in the league. I think they have the best defensive line in the league right now, and they're playing good. And offensively, they just need to take care of the ball if their defense is going to play that good. So I think we're in for a rude awakening next week, and it's not going to be an easy game. And people like to joke about the NFC East, but through these weeks, Washington is really coming to their own, and they're definitely the best team in the division, and they're going to give some team a run for their money when the playoffs come around.
This is a hallmark Ron Rivera team. You have a dominant front seven, and you have a bit of a lackluster back four in terms of DBs, but enough to get the job done because you're getting pressure on the quarterback. And then not a whole lot of weapons on offense, but he's making do without it. He's got a run-heavy team. I think he's one of the big reasons why Gibson has made the turnaround that he has. We know the running attack that Rivera likes to draw up and whoever he's got offensive-wise. And then they've got those weapons on offense that can hurt us if necessary. Like it won't be. The receivers don't scare me. Terry can make some separation, but if that's all we got to cover, we're fine. We've seen how we done against tight ends, though, especially in these red zone situations. Logan Thomas could actually be a force against us.
Play really good football.
He's been playing really, really good football for what we thought coming out of him. Like I said, Gibbson's made a huge turnaround. So if the running attack can't get everything together, it'll be interesting to see who he's got back at quarterback. If it's Smith, I'm gonna be like, hey, don't hit him that hard. I don't want to hurt him. Please, if you're gonna tackle him, just tackle him easily because I wouldn't want to tackle Alex Smith and risk anything like that again. If it's Dwayne Haskins, then bombs away. And the worst thing was that if it's Kyle Allen, but I think I don't remember.
He's done. I think he's done.
But that would be the worst thing if Kyle Allen came in and lit us up. You know how bad that'd be the most Panthers thing I've ever seen in my life.
Hey, I won't lie. And just trying to play devil's advocate. Do you think the offense is better under Kyle Allen than it is Teddy Bridgewater?
I mean, this is what my biggest proponent for my biggest thing with Kyle Allen was, and it was kind of what we saw at the beginning of this year. The reason Kyle Allen worked the way he did was because no one had any tape on how that team was going to play. You had no clue what kind of offense they were going to be running. And it allowed McCaffrey to thrive. It allowed, DJ to thrive. It allowed these guys to do well. Then they started to think, because remember we had that 4 game winning streak, and it was kind of like similar to this year. No one knew what to do, and then it came around. This year, or then as you got on, people realized all you got to do is take advantage of our crappy O-line and put pressure on Kyle Allen. And Kyle Allen's going to do what Teddy's been doing. He's going to get scared. He's going to force it. He's going to create turnovers. And I mean, so I don't think it's better or worse. Honestly, I think it's kind of honestly neck and neck.
Hey, look, I won't lie. I'm just throwing this out there. Mind you, Kyle didn't play the first 2 games. Right now, they're both They both at the end of the season. I mean, at this point, Teddy's at 3,360 yards. Kyle Allen was at, I want to say, I'm looking it up right now. He was at 3,322. So
and Kyle Allen, and he didn't play the last 2 games either.
Exactly. He missed. So he didn't play. So he only played, and he was featured in 13 games. So with 3 less games, about the same passing yards wise. Kyle Allen ended up throwing 17 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. Teddy 14 to 8 interceptions. So I mean, look, in all honesty, it's crazy to think that I thought coming into the year, I'm like, okay, we have an upgraded quarterback. We're not going to have this game manager or whatever back there throwing the ball, and I was absolutely wrong. But I'm just saying, like, in all honesty, I don't really think Kyle is not better than Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think.
No, he had McCaffrey too. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. That's true. But I ratioed that by saying Teddy Bridgewater has Robbie Anderson.
That's true.
That is also fair. But then
I'm just playing devil's advocate. Don't mind.
No. I mean, it's a fair question to ask, and I don't think we would have by any means stuck with Kyle Allen. It's just, so I think it's the same thing kind of with Teddy. I think not that they found out how to, but I hate to keep that's not your broken record. If we don't put any attention on the one position in the field that basically, if you think about it, determines your entire offensive production, because if it's crap, you're not going to get anything going, then we're going to see. That's why we're seeing similar results year in and year out, because you keep neglecting the problems that you have on offense.
It's the same issues, like you said.
Yeah, and they what they did was they stopped neglecting one issue. They started realizing we need to get weapons. They did that way too late. They realized that way too late. And we all know that. We saw there was a list on Twitter of the receivers that Cam Newton had over his tenure, and maybe 2 of them are still in the league right now, I think, making actual productive,
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, if I look at the draft class, aside from the first 2 picks, aside from those first 2 picks, well, who was your tour the second pick, or was he?
Your tour was second.
Okay. Well, third was besides the first 3 picks. I mean, your tour hasn't really produced that much, but besides Brown and Chin, I would have been okay with just going strictly offense after that. I thought they would have at some point throughout the draft. They went all defense. I mean, 2 of those guys have hit so far. I mean, look, you could have done. I keep looking at this team and say they kind of hit the reset button too early. They could have fixed and tinkered with some things and kind of and made things a lot better than what they are right now. But the decision is made. They did what they did. You gotta roll with it.
And we sit. It's just we sit here where we are. It's just. So, like I said, I'll be interested to see what this. I think the Redskins. It's so hard to not do that. Football team. I think the game against the football team is going to be very telling, and I think it's going to be honestly very symbolic of the whole season. If you see what Rivera and now we're not that conference is there is some competition, but it's really not that much. So we'll see. But Rivera's he's going to the playoffs right now. He's going to the playoffs, and honestly, I hate to say it, but for the Panthers fans are anything but ridiculously either loyal or stubborn. Well, it's one of the, and it depends on who it is. They're either loyal about it or stubborn about it. So when it comes to guys like Rivera and TD and Greg and Cam, we are ridiculously loyal. And and not to the point where I'd want to see them beat our team. But if this week they need to win to stay in the playoffs, let's go Rivera. Honestly, let's go football team. Let's go Rivera. I'd rather see Alex Smith and Ron Rivera and TD get one more shot in the playoffs, and like Tyler said, maybe actually make some waves in the playoffs than just have us win a game that's going to knock us into a higher draft pick, because I don't want to really have that. It's just really interesting to see. And Tyler, you can talk a little bit about it too. Just what you kind of want to see from this game. I expect this game to be probably, I'd say 21-10.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 24-10. 24-10. It's their offense isn't gonna be explosive. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say mine was a loss also. I didn't know if we would.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, same here, loss. 24-10 loss. I think it's going to be, like I said, the defense is going to, dictate. Their defense is going to dictate the game. It's going to be tough on us to score. And when we keep, having to punt, their offense, even though it might not be that talented, they're going to have shots to score, and it's the NFL. So, 24-10 is my pick. Loss.
Okay, so for me, I got Panthers losing 16-10, close one. Defensive battle, like Tyler said, not a whole lot of scoring, but one or two plays happen early in the game that probably sways us when we probably don't make up the ground, probably turn the ball over or don't convert on a third down or keep fourth down, and we probably lose this game. I see Washington playing better football down the stretch. They execute better than we do down the stretch in big games. That's how you put yourself in playoff position. So that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I just think a well coached Ron Rivera team will succeed at the end of the day.
Yeah, I kind of believe that too. And so we'll have to wait and see. Just kind of pray for better days and pray for, it's wild that the season's already almost over in itself. And we've got, 2 more games at all. That's a crazy thing to think about. I will say one thing, I'm glad we had it at all. There was a lot of times this season where I thought they were going to shut it down because of everything that was going on. I think the Panthers, I don't know. We didn't even talk about the COVID stuff with the Panthers. I don't know what the heck happened there, but that was not a good look for us, and not a good look for the younger coaches. So I don't know if Rule has full control over a lot of that team or not. That might be something that we need to kind of look into as the weeks go on. I don't know if he's got because if that happened under Rivera, their heads would roll.
Oh,
there would have been hell to pay if that happened under Rivera.
Yes.
So that's a little bit interesting. We'll see kind of how that plays out and just how the rest of the season plays out in general. But we're still going to be here regardless of whether what the season does or not, what we do or not. And we want to hear more from y'all. Like we said, if you want to be featured on the podcast in any sort of capacity, please DM us just a little bit about why you're a Panthers fan, maybe a picture of yourself in Panthers gear or Panthers at a game, so we can maybe post it on Instagram as well. And then ask us questions. We love the conversation in the comments. If there's things that y'all want us to talk about that you think we did in one week, if there's questions that y'all have, your comments on the defense or Teddy or Rule or Brady or any of that, let us hear it. We're just fans like y'all, and we want to know what y'all want to hear. And we're gonna, especially want to hear more than that as we go into the off season, because there probably won't be as much to talk about this off season as there was last off season, because that was, everyone knows what a roller coaster ride that was. But until then, y'all, we're gonna be here. We're gonna be keep bringing the content to you. We've got some stuff coming your way as well in terms of maybe some giveaways, maybe some merch, stuff like that. Obviously, we've got the merch coming out right now.
You see the brand.
So we're gonna keep it up, and so make sure to be out on the lookout for that. But until next time, everybody, keep pounding.